So we're back, guys. I said in the last video the owner had some surprises for us and he's dropped them off. First here we've got our new steering stabilizer. That's going to be near essential for big tyres. Get that out. Nice heavy duty aftermarket unit. Next we've got the torque rod for the front suspension. It helps out with bumps and controlling the front springs with tramp and that kind of thing when you're trying to climb rocks and stuff. That's adjustable unit, so if we ever change the suspension and stuff in the future, we'll be able to just adjust it instead of replacing it. So that one over there, get rid of those. Next, probably the biggest thing we've got is probably figure out what these are. We've got ourselves a second-hand turbo kit. That's the pipes. Nice chunky cast iron exhaust manifold. And little spoolie boy here. So this is based on a Mitsubishi turbo kind of. This is all a second-hand Denko kit, we believe. It's just come out of a wrecker, so we've got wrecker disconnected hoses, as you can see. So we'll have to get some hoses made up. There's a little bit of play in this turbo, so what we're going to do, we're going to send this away, get it looked at, and they'll probably put bearing seals in it and it'll be good to go. So we won't be fitting this up straight away. We'll get it sorted out and just to make sure, basically, as I've been saying the whole time, we're trying to get this truck reliable, and so we can basically just jump in it, take it wherever we want, and we don't have issues. So that'll be sent away, get all the seals done, and you can see it's got another wrecker disconnected item. We've got the dump pipe made up here. It's all steel, it's not cast, so we'll be able to custom make an exhaust off that. Port for the EGT, if we decide to run one. So that's a big thing. It'll be a little while, like I say, before we fit that, because we've got to send that away, and we'll have to make a new exhaust and everything, so we'll have to get those parts as well. So the next thing is we've noticed that the radiator core is leaking just a little bit down the bottom. So we decided to splash out. Oh, stuff going everywhere. And we've gone with alloy radiator. I'm actually pretty impressed with this item. It's a Worley Auto Parts radiator, just off eBay, fairly inexpensive item. I normally like to go with the brass and copper units, just for on the trail repairability, but like this is better than an old leaky core, I can tell you that now. So it's actually quite a thick core. So with us eventually going to the turbo, that's going to be a great addition to the HILUX. So turbo, something down the track. We'll get the radiator in probably while we're removing the body lift. And so we've got the other few things to continue on from. So we've got the output shaft seal leak on the transfer case. We've still got to adjust and bleed the brakes, obviously remove the body lift and change the power steering pump. So in this episode, that's probably what we'll get up to. So hold on, we're going to get started, and hopefully everybody learns a little bit. If not, everybody just gets to see what I get up to in my little shed. As you can see, this is my little man cave area with all my junk. So let's get to it. Alright, so last episode you saw that we changed all the rear brakes out, and I mentioned a lot of people have trouble adjusting handbrakes and stuff on a lot of Toyotas in particular. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it obviously worked properly at some stage. So why can't we get it to work properly? And again, you saw, made sure all the things in the brakes here were lubed. Now I'm going to go under the car and probably find some other parts to lubricate. You can see here, this is part of the handbrake mechanism. Squeaky, dry, covered in dirt, pretty standard HILUX stuff. So essentially that is our first step. Back that cable off that runs to the back of the car. So on the last video we lubed all these, lubed the pivot point here. Give it a bit of a turn. Give the lever a bit of a push, that centers your shoes. Next step after the back, we've got our drums adjusted down the back there. So we're now up to doing our cables. So this cable here, we've obviously got to take that slack out of it. So that's still got a little bit, you can still stretch everything a little bit, but you want to have that, otherwise you're going to bind up your rear brakes a lot. How does that feel?
Pretty tight.
About halfway up?
Yeah, halfway up.
Yep. And I can guarantee those rears are locked up at the moment. Alright, back under the car again. And we're going to have a look at this output shaft seal on the transfer case here. Alright, now it shoot me, but I'm sure there's a torque spec for this, but it's going to get the ugga dugga torques. Alright, so there you go. We've got a new locking location. That's the old one. You can see how much further it did up. We've got our 3-bond engine sealant. Now, look, this stuff just seals everything. So as long as that doesn't come loose, that should stay sealed. It's sealed the thread, it's sealed the underside of the nut, the whole lot. So next step will be get the tail shaft in and we'll go from there. Right, see, we've converted to the one-piece tail shaft. I've got that in there, just got to get the bolts done up. Nothing particularly crazy. There we go, guys, the car's outside under its own power. Yeah, we've put diff oil in it, we've bled the brakes. You saw me adjust all the handbrake and everything. The brakes are all working well so far. Car still needs a wheel alignment and that kind of thing, but you know, we will get to that once we get it fully back on the road. We're going to flush the cooling system so we can take the radiator out. This car has coolant in it, as it should. As you can see, doing some after hours time. It's night time out here. So we're going to flush it through the heater hose, heater tap open so we get the full flush of the system. And we're doing it with the old radiator in before we put the new one that you saw at the start of the video. We're going to do it with the old one so that we don't fill the new radiator up with any sort of crud out of the cooling system. What's the point in doing that? Put a new radiator, fill it with dirt straight away. So flush the radiator, or flush the cooling system, I should say, with the old radiator in. And at the same time, once we get that extra room before putting the new one in, change the power steering pump. And we're going to get the body lift out so that when we set the new radiator up, it's all set up for the right fan height and everything of the standard body mounts. I'm going to take you through a few of the pitfalls and stuff with the body lift. Obviously, radiator and fan shroud, as you can see here, it's a big gap at the top of the fan, is obviously one of the issues. So as we go, I sort of take you through those things as well once we get to the body lift. So let's get to draining this coolant. We're going to drain it into a tray under the car because it is coolant. We don't want to be putting that through the environment at all. And once we start flushing with just water, it's not so much of a critical issue. But yeah, we don't want to put that coolant through the environment. So we'll get the tray and let's get to it. Right, here's our, let's say, poor condition. And we'll give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's poor condition power steering pump. Deliciousness. That's pretty much the noise and action the pulley was making while it was driving along. As you can see, it's not the nut that is loose and the shaft moving. That is actually the pulley moving on the shaft, which is just, that's beautiful stuff, that is. That's what dreams are made of.
Fuck, that was annoying.
Alright, so we'll get that pump off. It's literally 2 hoses and 3 bolts. I'm not sure if we've got to get that front pulley off, but, we're not really trying to save this pump. It's pretty obvious that it's had it, so we'll get that off and try and get the new one on there. Yeah, so the hole, you can see there that the hole is elongated. You can see there the hole's elongated. Basically means the body of the pump is completely had it. Makes them not even rebuildable, not even worth rebuilding. So that pipe's pretty stuck on there, so we'll get that off But we'll look at the rest of it first. Now I want to just make sure that this bracket is okay. Alright, so we fitted this body lift quite some time ago, and you know, it was fitted because we needed the clearance for some tyres on a budget, and it suited the budget. So our body lift was comprised of some homemade alloy blocks. They were designed off a reputable company's blocks that had been used in another project, so nothing wrong with a solid alloy block. So one of the pitfalls you see here is the steering column. That's a better shot. That rubber's on the body there. You can, I suppose you can modify it in some way, but not real easily. So they're the things you've got to look out for, things like steering arms rubbing, brake lines stretching, hoses stretching where they go from the engine to the body. Your intake tube stretches a lot. Something that we noticed when we did the body lift was, yes, the fan shroud was okay and could clearance the fan, but look, whether the fan is as effective, we don't know, because the body and the radiator do stay together. So that's one thing you got to watch out for, is your radiator and shroud clearance to your fan. As you can see here, this is the alloy blocks here. They run throughout the underbody of the car. It's a bit dark there, but you can see it. So one thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration when you look inside the cab here, let me just get some light in here. Is the shifters through the floor. Now on a HILUX, you get away with it? What do you think? Shifters will get away with it on a HILUX? Yeah? Yeah, so on HILUX you get away with it, but on other vehicles, the clearance here around the shifter when it moves backwards and forwards, or the full drive lever for that matter, the transfer case lever, they can be a little bit, how should you say, clearance restricted, just by the throw of the lever where it goes through the floor. So you can have some problems with rubber boots and that kind of thing. As for the advantages of a body lift, well, when you fit a larger aggressive tyre, you end up with more body clearance at a cheap price, while keeping the weight of the engine and the gearbox and the chassis and everything down to a lower level, so keep your center of gravity low. You know, between myself and friends, we've all run body lifts, we've run suspension lifts. You know, it really depends on the application. Some cars are really expensive to lift the suspension, other cars are cheaper to lift the suspension, and in that case a body lift may not be so high on the option list. But we're going to take the body lift out of the cab now. We've already taken it out of the tray. I'll show you the difference. So you can see the swage line here. So we've already popped the body lift out of the tray. We're going to get it out of the main part of the body now, and we'll show you how we go about it. It's pretty simple, just basically putting it back to factory, so we'll get into that. So we have the bolts up the front under the radiator support. Now the ones inside you're going to find under your flooring. This is the one back here near the seat belt. Same on the other side of the car. We've got the ones at the front I think you have to take the kick panels out right to get them. But that's all pretty simple stuff to do. This has all been apart before, this cab, so we've got it just down here. It's got this little plastic cap over it. Pop him out. There she is right there. I might need to crack it first, I think. Get. Okay. Yeah, should be right with the gun now. Alright. Sometimes they'll just come up like that. Sometimes you'll have to punch them up. We'll just leave it in there for now. So I've just made up a little block of wood here. Got a nice groove in it. Just chisel it out with the wood chisel. Now we can use that to lift the car directly off the sill here, and that way we spread the load across the sill. We don't get too big jack marks in the sill, and we can lift basically the whole side of the car with the jack and not be worried about doing our backs in trying to lift it or anything silly like that. So probably going to need a couple of extra bits of wood in there for spacing, but let's try and jack this thing up.
Near enough depth on that.
No.
You patented that block.
Yep, look at that, perfect. And that's literally all it has to do.
Yeah.
Just got to get our block out of here. Block out from here. There it goes. Right, now. Oh man, this is way too controlled for the death trap. Alright, see our wood has done a perfect job there. No crushing of the sill. Nice little tip, that one. So the one item that you will have to undo on the driver's side of the car, try and get rid of that shadow, put another one in there. Yeah, the one thing you'll have to undo on the driver's side of the car, just loosen it off, is that little slip joint there. I'm pretty sure that's the only one we ever undid. We'll find out in a minute, I guess. If you don't undo that, you're likely to just push the steering shaft up through the column, which will damage your collapsible pin and stuff in the column. So we want to make sure that's nice and loose and nice and free, and then we'll get the driver's side down. Alright, body lifts out. Pretty decent alignment down the side. Like, I mean, as I say, this is no show truck. So you've got the front mounts out. Only tip I can probably think of while doing it is we did notice that one of the front radiator support holes and one of the rear cab holes actually has a smaller hole than the other mounts, and we kind of worked out that they are the alignment ones being cross angle to each other. huge Toyota diesel horsepower. I just put up some welds around the sides to make the sides stronger for now, in case we get any side impact out in the bush on that front corner. Right, so after a couple of different types of paint and different finishes, we've got a finish on it that we're basically happy with. It's going to do the job for now, but I'm about to get this inside because we've got a big storm coming and she's going a big cracker. Absolutely needs boost. Well, that's in the future. So we're just taking the HILUX for a just test drive, and we need to bed the brakes in as well. So just recapping what we've done the rear brakes and axle seals. We've done a new one-piece tail shaft, a output shaft seal on the transfer case, and we actually did a transfer case mount as well. On the front, we put in our high pinion diff. We've got new braided brake lines. We rebuilt all the steering, new brakes in the front, you know, new wheel bearings, all that kind of stuff. Right, in the engine bay we put the new power steering pump. We did the alloy radiator, which actually fit quite nicely. We put some new radiator hoses, new coolant, that kind of stuff in the engine bay. Obviously new power steering belt. We actually did a new intake hose because the old one was split. And on the front we've just basically given it a little bit of a facelift with just some paint, and just welding up the ends of the bar here that were split apart. The other main thing we've done is we took out the body lift, so no more alloy blocks in the body lift, back to standard body height. So old Project Desert Storm is looking a lot better. Like I say, it's probably got some tidying up of the paint in its future, as well as that turbo kit that I showed you guys before. Obviously that'll make a huge difference to the performance of the little 4-cylinder diesel. Alright, well for now that is the end of Project Desert Storm. Everything went pretty smoothly, no real issues. We do have some future things sort of planned for it. You know, as I sort of said, there is a turbo conversion in the works for it. Nothing crazy, pretty simple setup, close to standard. There's also a bit of paint work on the body. It'll be a similar colour, closer to more your Land Cruiser beige colour. But that's all in the future for 2022, I would say. I've got another project coming up pretty soon in my shop. Hopefully we get a bit more progress on the other projects we've got going on. But for now, the HILUX is driving. It's being daily driven at the moment. We've put some more streetable tyres on it. Those ones are a bit old and lumpy and that, a bit noisy. So it's driving really well. Owner's really happy. So we'll see that car back in the future. But for now, if you liked the content on the HILUX, let me know in the comments. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel. A lot of people have supported us, so we want to keep that going on. Share it with a friend. And yeah, hopefully see you on the next episode of Revamp.